Sirens echoed through Uruapan as dawn rose over Michoacan. Yet one question cut through the chaos like a blade. How did a mayor surrounded by security fall to a teenager with a cheap handgun? The shooting unfolded in front of families, vendors, and children celebrating a festival. Within seconds, Carlos Manzo, an outspoken mayor who publicly challenged the Jalisco New Generation cartel, lay bleeding on the stone plaza he had vowed to protect. Witnesses said he was hit at least 6 times. Videos captured crowds screaming, running, collapsing. The attacker died at the scene. 2 others were detained. The city woke to panic, fury, and a sense that something darker had been set in motion. The assassination struck not only Mexico, but international observers who had followed the rising cartel violence in Michoacan. Uruapan, a city known for avocados and trade, had become a front line in a broader national struggle where local authority collided with criminal power. Within hours, reports from Reuters and BBC confirmed that protests erupted across the city. Demonstrators marched beside Manzo's widow, raising signs demanding justice, accountability, and federal intervention. Many chanted that his death was not random, not impulsive, but calculated, a message delivered in bullets. Manzo had warned weeks earlier that threats were intensifying. He requested additional military protection, insisting that federal troops were necessary. 14 soldiers protect him, officials claim. Yet video from the attack revealed none in sight. The absence raised suspicions, igniting debates on whether state forces were overwhelmed, infiltrated, or both. What emerged afterwards stunned even veteran investigators. 2 men tied directly to the case, the very witnesses expected to help prosecutors build their narrative, were found dead at dawn on Highway 37. Their hands were bound, their bodies executed, the same highway Manzo drove to work every morning. DW later reported that such killings followed a familiar pattern in cartel cleanup operations, remove loose ends before they reach a courtroom. Within 48 hours, first arrest, forensic teams conducted full digital extractions on seized phones. Transfers of nearly 200,000 pesos were traced to a CJNG financier known as El Licenciado, disguised as bonuses and operational expenses. The Guardian confirmed the financial links matched laundering patterns through avocado cooperatives long used by the cartel to fund territorial control. WhatsApp intercepts added another layer. Court filings revealed that as Manzo walked through candlelit crowds during the Day of the Dead celebration, his own bodyguard sent real-time geolocation pings to the killers. One message read, "Target acquired, green light." Minutes later, a 17-year-old gunman opened fire. The evolution of the story revealed a broader crisis, one that extended beyond Uruapan, beyond Michoacan, and into the heart of Mexico's national struggle. When a mayor can be killed by his own security team, what becomes of public trust? When witnesses vanish or are murdered on federal highways, what becomes of justice? And when cartel networks infiltrate municipal institutions, what does it mean for a country's sovereignty in the eyes of its allies? With President Donald Trump calling for deeper U.S.-Mexico security cooperation and intelligence sharing, the case took on geopolitical weight. As Washington monitors the situation, the stakes extend far beyond a single assassination. They touch on regional stability, U.S.-Mexico border dynamics, and America's strategic prestige in confronting transnational cartels. If this is what happens to a mayor under protection, what happens next to a country still fighting for its democracy? The revelation hit Mexico like a shockwave. The men sworn to protect Mayor Carlos Manzo were the very individuals who delivered him to his killers. The betrayal was not theoretical, not speculative, it was captured in phone logs, bank transfers, intercepted messages, and ultimately in the cold precision of the attack itself. Investigators piecing together the timeline found that infiltration began months earlier. 2 of the arrested bodyguards, former municipal police officers, had already been flagged in 2023 for extortion tied to CJNG operations. Internal reports documented shakedowns of avocado farmers, coerced protection fees, and links to local plaza bosses. Staffing shortages and security desperation led to their rehiring. It was a decision that would prove fatal. What emerged from seized devices left federal analysts stunned. Transfers totaling nearly 200,000 pesos flowed from accounts connected to Jorge Armando N., known as El Licenciado, a mid-level CJNG financier embedded in Michoacan's lucrative avocado trade. The payments were hidden behind memos labeled as bonuses or operational stipends timed to coincide with major public events where Manzo appeared. On October 15th, October 22nd, November 1st, each transfer aligned with a moment the mayor was exposed to large crowds. The most damning entry contained a brief instruction: ensure proximity to principal during event. It wasn't a bribe to stand down, it was a payment to deliver. Court documents reviewed by BBC and Reuters detailed how the guards used WhatsApp to shape the ambush. As Manzo walked through festival crowds lit by candles and marigolds, one guard shared his live GPS location with a CJNG operations group. Another forwarded a voice note moving toward north exit, light crowd. At 8:07 p.m., La Paloma, identified as the most active coordinator, sent the final confirmation. 3 minutes later, the teenage shooter stepped forward and pulled the trigger. For security officials in Mexico City, this was an institutional nightmare. Defense News and Jane's analysts noted that the attack exposed a structural vulnerability. Municipal security forces, underfunded and undermanned, had become easy targets for cartel infiltration. When even an outspoken mayor's personal detail can be bought, coerced, or threatened into compliance, protective structures implode. The betrayal struck even deeper because Manzo personally vetted these men. He had fired previous teams citing corruption risks. He trusted this group. Many had served beside him in local police units. 2 were brothers. Their presence at his side was supposed to represent loyalty, not treason. As interrogations progressed, investigators discovered that the guards were not lone actors. They were part of a layered kill chain. The most elusive figure was a CJNG radio operator known only as LR1. Federal affidavits described him as the operations architect, a ghost-like specialist who monitored the mayor's movements through hacked GPS systems, compromised traffic cameras, and drone surveillance relayed through encrypted channels. LR1's digital dragnet shadowed Manzo for weeks. Geolocation data showed LR1's burner phone pinging alongside the guards' devices throughout the Day of the Dead celebration. Every movement Manzo made was replicated across cartel communications. Every step toward the festival's main square triggered updates on CJNG channels. When crowds thickened, drone feeds helped identify the clearest firing lanes. LR1 never appeared in public. No photo, no physical description, no confirmation of age or rank, only a handle and a trail of digital footprints. The betrayal was not simply operational, it was psychological. How does a community rebuild trust when its protectors choose payoffs over duty? How does a nation restore faith in law enforcement when its front line is compromised at the most intimate level? With President Donald Trump pledging expanded U.S. support for counter-cartel operations, the question now points not only to Mexico's internal crisis, but to the balance of power across North America itself. If this level of infiltration is possible in a mayor's inner circle, what could it mean for regional stability in the years ahead? The sun had barely risen when motorists on Highway 37 made a horrifying discovery: 2 bodies dumped on the roadside, hands-bound, shot execution style, positioned on the same stretch of asphalt Mayor Carlos Manzo once drove daily to work. Their identities were confirmed within hours. These were not civilians, not rivals, not random casualties. They were protected witnesses and expected to testify in the investigation into Manzo's killing. Their murders turned a criminal case into a national emergency. Authorities initially attempted to shield their identities, but leaks to local press and foreign correspondents revealed the truth. Both had direct knowledge of the infiltration scheme inside Manzo's security detail. Their executions signaled a deliberate effort to collapse the state's case before it reached court. Reuters analysts noted that such killings follow a familiar CJNG pattern: erase the chain of testimony, fracture the prosecution, and inject fear into every remaining witness. The timing was precise. Their deaths occurred just days before the December 2nd, hearing a pivotal moment expected to bind the suspects over for trial. Instead, prosecutors faced the immediate risk of losing foundational evidence. Without the witnesses, the narrative becomes fragmented. WhatsApp intercepts can be challenged. Bank transfers can be dismissed as circumstantial. Testimonies can be recanted. Killings on a public highway at dawn delivered a chilling message: talk and die. Federal investigators emphasized that this was not coincidence. This was cleanup. This was CJNG's methodical removal of every loose thread. What shocked the public more was the speed and precision of the hit. Forensic reports indicated both men were kidnapped hours earlier, interrogated, shot at close range, and dumped strategically to send a message not only to prosecutors, but to anyone still alive who had touched the case. BBC correspondents noted that Michoacan residents had seen similar patterns in past cartel purges, though rarely involving protected witnesses under federal oversight. The investigation's pressure point turned toward a single figure, the 8th bodyguard, who remained missing, presumed under protection in a CJNG safe house. Prosecutors believed he held the most damaging secrets, financial trails, encrypted communications, and operational details linking LR1, El Licenciado, and the bodyguards. His absence was as threatening as his potential testimony. According to The Guardian's coverage, security analysts warned that CJNG would either protect him forever or eliminate him before he reached a courtroom. As the killings reverberated through Uruapan, anger spilled into the streets. Families marched through plazas demanding state protection, chanting that corruption had reached its breaking point. DW reported that public trust in institutions plunged to historic lows in Michoacan. The murder of witnesses deepened the perception that the state cannot or will not protect those who step forward. Federal prosecutors attempted to reassure the public, but their statements rang hollow. Evidence remained vulnerable. Key testimonies were now silenced, and the defense, armed with torture allegations and political backing, sensed an opportunity to dismantle the state's case. The murders also rippled beyond Mexico. In Washington, President Donald Trump ordered a security briefing on the case, citing concerns that the instability in Michoacan threatened U.S. border security and intelligence cooperation. According to defense news analysts, U.S. agencies warned that cartel violence of this magnitude could disrupt joint operations targeting fentanyl smuggling routes. The deaths of the witnesses critical to revealing internal cartel mechanics represented a blow to both nations' efforts. The question now looms over Mexico's justice system. If protected witnesses can be executed on a public highway, what hope remains for the December 2nd hearing and for anyone still alive who dares to testify? The deeper investigators dug, the clearer the structure of the assassination became a cold, methodical architecture built by a cartel machine that now rivals paramilitary organizations. At its center stood a network of specialists, financiers, drone pilots, digital surveillance operators, and teenage gunmen, each playing a precise role. The killing of Mayor Carlos Manzo was not a spontaneous hit. It was a coordinated sequence engineered by the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, with military-style discipline and technological sophistication. The financial brain of the operation was Jorge Armando N., known as El Licenciado, a mid-level CJNG financier who laundered cartel funds through Michoacan's avocado cooperatives. The system was shockingly simple. Profits from extortion smuggling fees and illicit exports flowed through farming associations, producing clean money disguised as agricultural income. Jane's analysts later noted that this model mirrors financial structures used by Hezbollah-linked groups in the Middle East, decentralized, resilient, and nearly invisible without deep forensic tracing. But finance was only the beginning. The operational mastermind was a phantom LR1, the pseudonymous CJNG radio operator described by federal affidavits as a ghost in the machine. No age, no image, no biographical profile, only encrypted signals, burner phones, and digital shadows. His tools included intercepted GPS feeds from municipal vehicles, hacked traffic cameras, drone relays, and encrypted messaging apps. With these, LR1 built a digital cage around Manzo, tracking him for weeks across Uruapan. Every movement had a digital echo. Every public appearance triggered tactical updates. Every bodyguard shift created new vulnerabilities. Drone footage recovered from seized phones exposed the full extent of the plan. Operatives like El Quadi, a cartel drone pilot, conducted aerial sweeps of the festival grounds hours before the attack. The videos showed crowd density, mapping thermal signatures, and multiple escape routes marked for the teenage shooters. Defense news analysts noted that the footage resembled reconnaissance patterns used by insurgent groups in Syria, evidence that cartels have absorbed battlefield tactics shaped by global conflicts. Then came the hitmen themselves, teenage recruits barely old enough to drive. Surveillance footage from an Uruapan rehabilitation center, time-stamped October 28th, showed El Licenciado distributing burner phones, promising money and protection for their families, and delivering motivational speeches about loyalty. The promise was simple: 50,000 pesos for a clean job. These teenagers, indoctrinated through a disposable Sicario training model, underwent fast-cycle conditioning, mock assassinations, and ideological framing that cast betrayal as a sin punishable by death. The prosecution's narrative depicted a kill chain with layered redundancies. LR1 handled surveillance, El Quadi handled drones, bodyguards handled positioning, teenagers handled triggers. But the defense struck back. At the November 27th hearing, El Licenciado denied all cartel ties, painting himself as a humble avocado exporter. His testimony, broadcast on state media, described beatings, waterboarding, and electric shocks in a Morelia detention cell. DW and Guardian correspondents reported that torture claims have historically derailed federal prosecutions, especially those involving cartel mid-managers. Presiding Judge Luis Fernando Stata did not dismiss the allegations. Instead, he postponed binding the suspects to trial until December 2nd and ordered independent medical evaluations. The courtroom tension exposed the stakes. If torture claims hold key evidence becomes inadmissible. If surveillance footage is challenged, the reconnaissance chain phrase. If remaining witnesses die or refuse to speak, the prosecution collapses entirely. Beneath every legal argument lies a darker truth. The cartel did not merely execute a mayor. It built an ecosystem designed to outmaneuver the state at every level: financial, technological, human, and political. As President Donald Trump strengthened U.S.-Mexico intelligence sharing to counter transnational cartels, American analysts warned that CJNG's hierarchical sophistication mirrors emerging insurgent networks worldwide. If such a structure can operate with impunity in Michoacan, what does it mean for regional security and for America's claim to strategic dominance in the hemisphere? And with the December 2nd hearing approaching, one question overshadows all others. Can a justice system survive when the enemy has already infiltrated every link in the chain? The courtroom battle unfolding in Michoacan has become far more than a legal proceeding. It has evolved into a test of Mexico's institutions, its political class, and the structural forces shaping the country's future. Each revelation pushes the case deeper into the intersection of criminal power and political authority. And with every witness death, every leak, every allegation, the line between justice and collapse grows thinner. When El Licenciado took the stand on November 27th, he presented an image radically different from the prosecution's portrayal. Far from a cartel financier, he claimed to be a simple avocado exporter arrested while attending his son's soccer game. His voice was calm, deliberate, unshaken. But then came the accusations, beatings, waterboarding simulations, electric shocks, and relentless threats involving his wife. The Guardian noted that claims like these, common in high-profile cartel cases, often serve as tools to delegitimize investigations and undermine federal prosecutors. Yet the presiding judge did not dismiss the claims. Instead, he ordered an inquiry and postponed the decision to bind the defendants to trial until December 2nd. This delay threw the prosecution off balance. Internal memos leaked to the press showed concern that torture allegations could render key evidence inadmissible, forcing the state to rely exclusively on digital forensics and financial tracing categories that defense attorneys have already begun attacking. Compounding the pressure, new political threads emerged. Evidence pointed toward potential ties between Mayor Manzo's 2024 campaign and former Governor Silvano Aureoles, whose departure in 2021 left a governance vacuum. Opposition parties seized the moment. PRI's 2027 gubernatorial candidate Ernestina Godoy, already under scrutiny for her brother's alleged cartel links, became a symbol of the narco-politician phenomenon. Senators demanded answers on whether early investigations into Manzo's murder were slowed or redirected due to political favoritism. This political storm rattled Michoacan's institutions. Protesters gathered outside Morelia's government buildings. The chant "No Mas Narcopoliticos" spread online, earning millions of impressions. The unrest grew as thousands blocked highways across Uruapan, burning effigies and accusing federal policies of enabling cartel violence. Amid this turmoil, human rights advocates entered the spotlight. They warned that if torture allegations were substantiated, Mexico could face international condemnation. DW highlighted that past high-profile cases involving coerced confessions, such as the Ayotzinapa investigation, had fractured public trust in state institutions. Now, with protected witnesses murdered and a key defendant claiming torture, the legitimacy of the entire case risked collapsing. Meanwhile, more evidence continued to surface. Surveillance footage from an Uruapan rehabilitation center showed El Licenciado personally recruiting the teenage shooters days before the attack. The footage captured him handing out burner phones, promising cash, and discussing loyalty to the family. Prosecutors framed this as the smoking gun that undercut torture narratives, but the defense worked to reinterpret the footage, claiming the meeting was manipulated or taken out of context. The complexity of real evidence versus strategic narrative deepened. Simultaneously leaked chat logs suggested that Mayor Manzo might have maintained secret channels with Carteles Unidos CJNG's rival. Investigators explored the possibility that Manzo's public anti-cartel stance concealed covert coordination with competing criminal groups. If confirmed, this duality would shift the narrative from martyrdom to strategic double-dealing, implicitly questioning who benefited from his death and why. International reactions intensified. President Donald Trump ordered additional intelligence sharing measures, citing concerns that cartel infiltration of municipal governments jeopardized U.S. strategic interests. Analysts from Reuters and Defense News warned that the erosion of local governance in Michoacan threatened to destabilize regional security and undermine cross-border operations targeting fentanyl networks. The legal, political, and moral landscape now sits on a knife's edge. Every new revelation carries implications not just for one murder case, but for the credibility of the state itself. Every lie, every leak, every death serves as another reminder that governance in parts of Mexico hangs by a thread woven between criminals, politicians, and the institutions meant to restrain them. And as the December 2nd hearing looms, the country faces a question that reaches far beyond Michoacan. When justice and corruption collide in the same courtroom, which one survives? By late November, the atmosphere in Michoacan had shifted from outrage to something far more volatile expectation mixed with dread. The upcoming December 2nd hearing was no longer a procedural step in a homicide trial. It had become a national countdown, a moment loaded with political risk, cartel pressure, civic fury, and international scrutiny. Everything pointed toward one question: would justice finally push through, or would the system fracture under the weight of fear? Federal forces attempted to regain control before the hearing. On November 26th, a dawn raid in Colima exposed the largest CJNG arms cache seized since 2023. 12 crates filled with AK-47 variants ballistically linked to the Manzo assassination RPGs, encrypted radios, and military-grade communication gear valued at nearly $1.2 million. U.S. DEA intelligence had guided the operation tracking shipments through Jalisco laboratories and Uruapan's Pacific ports. Joint task forces dismantled 3 CJNG cyber-operated cells and seized financial ledgers, documenting a staggering $500 million annual extortion economy tied to avocado production. The Guardian reported that this single bust revealed the depth of CJNG's supply chain and Mexico's growing dependence on U.S. technological support. Yet even these tactical victories came with strategic costs. Security analysts warned that hitting cartel finances would provoke violent retaliation. CJNG would not allow such losses without responding. Within days, Sicario spotters were seen near Uruapan's City Hall, observing the movements of Eli Manzo Ortega, the slain mayor's successor, and now one of the region's highest value targets. Federal analysts feared history could repeat itself. To counter the escalating threat, President Claudia Sheinbaum authorized a major security surge. 500 National Guard troops, AI-driven threat analytics systems developed alongside U.S. fusion centers, armored vehicles, drones, and signal jamming modules designed to disrupt CJNG's reconnaissance capabilities. DW reported that some technologies mirrored counterinsurgency tools tested in Europe and the Middle East, but deploying them inside Mexican territory presented a political dilemma balancing civilian freedoms with militarized security. President Donald Trump, facing growing pressure from U.S. border states and narcotics enforcement agencies, publicly reaffirmed America's commitment to assisting Mexico. Reuters noted that Trump's administration viewed the Manzo case as a test of hemispheric stability. A successful prosecution would bolster Washington's regional strategy. A collapse, especially one involving witness executions, political interference, or cartel intimidation, would signal a dangerous erosion of state authority in one of America's closest partners. Meanwhile, public anger spiraled. On November 25th, approximately 5,000 protesters shut down major highways, burned effigies of political figures, and hurled accusations that state institutions had been infiltrated beyond repair. The hashtag Guardias Abrazos a las Narcos surged past 2.3 million impressions, framing federal security policy as a failure. Protesters demanded resignations, military intervention, or both. The deeper investigators probed, the more connections emerged. Some pointed to LR1's involvement in earlier CJNG operations, including drone-led ambushes. Others uncovered encrypted videos from El Quadi mapping thermal signatures over festival crowds. The kill chain became unmistakable: aerial surveillance, digital geolocation, bodyguard, infiltration, teenage shooters, and a command node hidden behind walls of encryption. This was not a cartel improvising attacks. This was a cartel evolving into a hybrid threat part criminal syndicate part digital insurgency. Amid this, a chilling new theory surfaced. Leaked chat logs suggested Mayor Manzo may have secretly collaborated with Carteles Unidos CJNG's rival network, feeding them intelligence while publicly denouncing cartel activity. Investigators could not confirm the claim, but the possibility cast a new shadow over the narrative of martyrdom. If Manzo was playing both sides, then his murder was not only an act of brutality, it may have been a strategic execution within a turf war that extended deep into political office. As these revelations spread, public confidence cracked further. Analysts from BBC and DW noted that Mexico had reached a critical inflection point, whether it chooses to reinforce its institutions or witnesses their disintegration under cartel pressure. By the last week of November, one reality was unavoidable. Every pillar supporting the December 2nd prosecution was under attack. 2 protected witnesses were dead. The 8th bodyguard had vanished. Torture allegations threatened to invalidate key evidence. Political factions were using the case as a weapon. Cartel operatives were erasing evidence and eliminating informants in real time. And yet, despite the chaos, federal prosecutors pushed forward. Their goal was not only to convict those involved, but to reassert state power over a region slipping into cartel dominance. The days ahead would determine whether Mexico could hold that line. Because if the December 2nd hearing collapses, the consequences stretch far beyond Michoacan. A state weakened, a cartel emboldened, a political system destabilized, and alliances with Washington shaken at a moment when America's strategic credibility in the hemisphere hangs in the balance. As the nation braces for the hearing, one question echoes from Uruapan's streets to Mexico City's courtrooms to Washington's intelligence briefings. Will December 2nd deliver justice or signal the moment Mexico loses control of the fight? The assassination of Mayor Carlos Manzo exposed a multi-layered crisis that now threatens Mexico's political stability and the strategic balance of power across North America. What first appeared to be a bold cartel execution expanded into a sprawling network of infiltration, financial manipulation, digital surveillance, and political compromise. CJNG's kill chain fusing drone reconnaissance, hacked GPS systems, corrupted bodyguards, and teenage gunmen revealed a cartel operating with the precision of an insurgent force. The murders of protected witnesses, the disappearance of the 8th bodyguard, and torture allegations against key defendants undermined the prosecution before the December 2nd hearing. Meanwhile, leaked evidence suggested potential political interference, rival cartel alliances, and institutional vulnerabilities stretching from municipal offices to federal agencies. Public anger surged with mass protests and growing distrust in state leaders. U.S. involvement intensified as President Donald Trump expanded intelligence sharing and security cooperation, viewing the case as a test of hemispheric stability. Federal raids delivered tactical gains, arms seizures, financial ledgers, cyber network dismantling, but also risk-provoking violent retaliation from CJNG. The hearing now carries enormous weight, a chance to reassert state authority, or a moment that signals further institutional decay. As Mexico approaches this decisive crossroads, one question remains: will justice prevail, or will the criminal networks tightening around Michoacan pull the country deeper into conflict?